Hello everyone, Chuckles here, without the glasses because from this angle right now with this lighting, I didn't like how there's so much reflection that it just looks really weird. So I'm going to try and focus my eyes where they need to go. uh, Eventually I'm going to get contacts again, finally, now that I actually have insurance to do so through my job. But I wanted to tell you all about the last 3 days that we had in Japan. We, of course, are all back in America now, safe and sound. But I wanted to give you the details, or rather the summary, of our last 3 days. Because there's not a whole lot to tell in comparison to all the other days. So I'm going to start with Monday, which, as you saw in the last update, I was talking about how Yuko-san and Kai-san negotiated with me an extra day because they were like, hey, if you guys are going to be here until the evening and you're going to fly back at night, then why don't we give you you decide if you want to pay for this, but have an extra day. Another day than what we had planned to go and continue location scouting. And I was like, that sounds good. Otherwise, we're just going to be hanging around, so we might as well. So we went back to a place that we had gone on the very first day, and I've mentioned this a little bit in the other videos, but the weather was ridiculous in that and this was commented on by everyone, it got better the longer we stayed until it was really good when we were about to leave. It was raining not the first day we got there. It would rain the first day we got to Miyazaki. Not the first day we arrived in Japan, because again, we were supposed to go to Miyazaki that very night, but ended up in a capsule hotel. But the day that we started our location scout in Miyazaki, it was raining. And then as we went along, the weather got better and better, so it's like, well, that's nice. So you might have seen on Facebook the very first location that we went to was this cool cave area that has been used in films before. They told us, and I've forgotten at this moment. They wrote it all down, and I took notes and everything, and made sure to figure out where each place was. And they gave us actually a brochure that showed all the different locations. This place was a cave with a nice, big red torii gate outside, and it was pouring at this point, which added to the aesthetic, but didn't make it any easier to explore. But on that same day, I believe it was, well, maybe not one of the last places we went to, but later in the day, we got to basically the start of a forest path, and there was a walkway down to the side where we went to. We didn't go down the path. We instead went down this walkway, like this little ramp that led right down to this river, and the river looked really cool. It was a river. Basically, at this point, I was looking for a place to shoot the Kappa Scene in the film, in Yoyaku Yokai. For those of you who don't know yet, because you might have seen on Facebook, I posted character designs from my storyboard artist. But the Kappa is a mythological creature that lives in the water, in rivers mainly, and there are many different legends surrounding Kappa. Sometimes they're benevolent, sometimes they're mean. The one in my film is mean and attacks people, and jumps out of the water, right? Jumps out of the river. So, therefore, when we were looking around, that was one of the main places that we were seeking, was a nice place that had a river with a place that looked good in terms of having enough space for the characters to walk around until they encounter the Kappa, which would be near, so shore and river, and the river near that shore needs to be deep enough for the actor that we're going to get, whoever that is, playing the Kappa, to be able to actually be in the water and then jump out. So it can't just be any river. Even so, this river that we went to, that I'm describing when we went down the walkway, beautiful river, one of those with, like, you know, the rocks here and there, and the water flowing around the rocks, making this nice scene, and the moss, and oh, it's gorgeous, but it's too shallow and it's going too fast, and it just wouldn't work. But it was nice to look at, and there was a tree nearby that the tour guide that we had at the time, that Kai-san had found, she was talking about this tree and how she was saying, like, oh, if you pick a little thing off here, then you listen to it. We didn't really quite understand what she was saying until Yuko-san pointed it out to us. It was like, oh, she's saying if you pluck the moss and listen, you can hear I don't know if you guys know about the kodama. And you're like, oh, you're talking about kodama, like in Princess Mononoke. I let them know that it's my favorite film. And the little kodama are these spirits in the trees. And in that film, they have heads that, like, rattle. And so it's like you can hear, it's like, oh, that's what she was saying. The moss from this tree, you can hear the kodama crinkling around. This woman's last name is actually Kodama, so that's funny. So that place, with that area that we went to near the entrance to see that river, we could also go down a forest path. We did not do that because it was pouring rain. So, back to the day that I'm talking about now, Monday, what became our true last day of the location scout, we decided to, or rather, I requested that we go back there so that we could actually go down the forest path and see if there were any places that could be used. Because by this time, we had discovered a river that is going to work really well. And it seems to be that that it's none of the locations have been, we haven't filled out paperwork or anything yet, but we have been talking to the people who own the different locations or know about them, and I have confirmed that, like, oh yeah, this place and this place and this place, and one of those places is a really nice rocky river area that has a nice looking deep river with water that is not crazy, and a nice wide shore that could be used for filming and for the characters walking around. So it's like, oh yay, great, Kappa location confirmed. But we had not yet found a place for, well, we had found a place for a path for Hikaru, one of the main characters, to walk down and encounter various yokai along the way. The place that we found was in connection to another area that I had discovered, because we found, I don't know if I talked about this already, but there was a really cool, yeah, I'm pretty sure I did say this, there was this cool open area with a park, and there was a stairway and a garden and things like that, and I was like, oh, it's beautiful, but it can't really be used for my purposes. But then when Nikki and I saw a path that went that way, and it's like, that looks like it might lead to somewhere ominous, ominous looking. And we went that way and said, aha, sure enough, here's a nice path that's dark and ominous and looks like you might encounter some spirits or something here. And if we can indeed secure that location, which I'm pretty sure we'll be able to do, that will be used for another scene in the movie where the same character who encounters the Kappa, Hikaru, also encounters a group of kitsune, foxes. But then after that, I needed a place for her to go and walk down a path and continue to encounter different magical creatures and things like that as she goes. And we discovered a place that was narrow, very narrow, and had a creek. I think it was a man-made creek running through it, like a drainage system. It was in again, beautiful location, a nice forest of bamboo. But the place that we wanted, it was nice because the foliage on the ground matched up. It just so happened, because they were the same type of trees, matched up with the foliage from this other location that I was thinking of having the kitsune scene in. And so I was like, oh, this is perfect. The foliage matches up. And that's the kind of thing, well, again, talking about location scouting, that's the kind of thing that you look for, because you're trying to figure out, okay, because this scene connects to this scene and this sequence goes together and blah, 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 but we can't shoot it all at the same place, so we need to find a location that looks kind of similar to this place. So that's what we did, but it's narrow, very narrow, and on one side there's just basically a cliff going this way. On the other side there's a cliff going this way, down. So there's a very narrow precipice in which it would be possible to have cameras set up, and so it would be difficult. Well, this forest path that we were now able to go down because it wasn't raining, we were going down the whole, it's like 5 miles, I think. 5, 6, 7, something like that. It's under 10 miles. I believe it's like between 5 and 7 miles. Eventually, as we're going down, I believe it was actually almost to the end, there's this one area that we found that had a nice wide path among the tall trees, and some of these trees again were the same as in this other area that I found that I wanted to shoot the kitsune scene in, so that the foliage once again was the same on the ground. So I'm like, it matches, and this place is actually wide enough. All right. So in each of these places, whenever I found, and again, this is the thing that you do during a location scout. You take lots of pictures, which is why I brought along Nikki and Amanda, because she's also going to be doing artwork based on the locations that we find and the pictures that we take of it, and also just so that she could actually see it and get some of the creative juices flowing. Why you take those kind of people along, so that you can have all these records of all these places and look at it, and not only that, but try and set it up in the way that you are trying to visualize for the film, so that you can say, okay, in this area, if we shoot it this way and have this kind of lighting and blah, 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 how will this look? So at the riverbank where I'm planning on shooting the Kappa scene, I had, hold on, I need to remember his name. Ichiro and Sachio. They were with us on I forget what day it was, but when we found the area to do the Kappa scene, Ichiro and Sachio were with us. They were the ones who were guiding us to these different places. And so when we were at the riverbank, I had Ichiro pretend to be a kappa and just go rah, and then I had Amanda stand in for Hikaru and sort of stage the scene that way. I hope I haven't already explained this, so I'm repeating myself, but if I have, I'm sorry. Staging the scenes and having Nikki shoot the scenes from a similar angle that I'm envisioning for the film, which is what we did in the area where Hikaru encounters the Kappa, which is what we did in the area behind that garden, down this ominous path where Hikaru encounters a group of kitsune. So I had Amanda stand in again, and a few of us stood in for the kitsune. And then in this area, down the forest path, when we found the wider path, I had once again Hikaru, Amanda stand in for Hikaru, and Nikki shoot the scene. So I was very happy that we found that place, because it works out. Again, the foliage matches, so it will match up nicely. It will seem like it's the same, relatively speaking, the same area. Hopefully it'll blend seamlessly during the edit. And it's wide enough that we can have the variety of shots that we need, as opposed to the very limited way we'd be with that narrow pathway. So even if we didn't find anything else on that day, at least that, it was great. So that was definitely the most significant portion of that day, and at this point I'm not able to remember most of what else happened on that Monday, except that we did see a couple of houses just on the outside as we were driving to the airport, as Kaya-san was driving us all to the airport. But got to the airport, and Yuko-san, Kaya-san said goodbye. I said that I told them both, like, I want to work with you two again. And again, as I said before, Kaya-san was like, you just let me know. She said this through Yuko-san. You let me know when I need to actually go and find more places for you, and when you we need to hammer down the dates when we're actually going to be shooting this stuff. And I was like, yes, definitely. So then we once again took a domestic flight back to Tokyo, and I was very paranoid. Like, okay, we messed up last time. Well, we didn't mess up. The airline, again, Amanda and Spencer's flight was late, so there's nothing we could do because that flight was at the last one of the day. So it's not like I could have picked another one. It was cutting it close, but I couldn't pick another one. It was the last flight of the day, and again, thankfully the ANA. It's a ANA, All Nippon Airways, was the one. Again, Miyuki-san introduced me to someone else who could get me plane tickets and like find the best deals, and that person introduced me to ANA, that company. Also, I believe ANA is the umbrella company, and then Solacid Air, Solacido, actually owns the planes, something like that. Anyway, that's the company that we used for the domestic flights, and talking with them on the night that we missed the flight, once again, they were very nice, and they said, okay, we will change this for you. You don't have to buy a whole new group of tickets. Whew! We will change this for you to the very first flight. And so that's why we stayed in the capsule hotel and then got there bright and early and blah, blah, blah. So now, once again, getting back and cutting it close, because the flight that we had this time, getting in at, when did we get in? It was something like 10 or 10:30, and then as I believe I mentioned in a previous video, about an hour and 20-minute train ride to Narita, the Narita airport, because it was a Haneda. Narita is where we came in from the States. The Narita airport, we came into that airport from the States. And then we had to take a train ride to Haneda Airport because that's where the domestic flights would come from. And Miyuki-san let me know, like, yeah, you should really come to Haneda Airport specifically since you're going to be coming to Miyazaki. Come to Haneda Airport instead of Narita Airport. Narita Airport is the popular airport that a lot of people come to, especially foreigners. But it's odd because I believe Haneda is actually the bigger one. It's like, it was known as just Tokyo International Airport, but then I forget why, but people started calling it Haneda because Haneda, I forget what Haneda means, but it was sort of a nickname, but then it sort of stuck. But Haneda Airport is bigger. I'm pretty sure it's bigger. It's not just an airport, it's a tourist trap. It's a place that has, it's the airport, but then it also has restaurants and like arcades and just other various amusement type things, and I wish we could have had some time to explore the airport, but we were never there long enough to do so because we always had to get going to different places, including this night, where we got there at, again, like 10:30 or something, and then an hour and 20 minutes, so it's like, okay, we got to get back to Narita, and then we were going to stay because we were leaving, once again, coming into Narita from the States, leaving from Narita to the States, Tokyo International Airport, Narita, NRT. And because of that, I wanted to take no chances on leaving in the morning, getting up and going. And so I was just like, let's just stay in the airport right next to let's just stay in the hotel right next to the airport. Narita Tobu Hotel Airport. That's the name of the hotel. Narita Tobu Hotel Airport. Well, little did I know that by the time we got back to Narita, all the buses were gone. Like they'd stopped running. It would have done us some good if I had, I don't know, gotten to Tokyo like a day beforehand and like refamiliarized myself with the transit system, which I had gotten to know a bit in the few days I was there back in 2015, but basically had to like relearn it and getting everyone's tickets and making sure we got to the right places. That probably took longer than we could have taken, and we could have probably gotten to the last bus, but it didn't because I was making sure of every little detail and probably taking too long. So we missed all the buses had stopped running by the time we got there, and so it's like, oh, we're gonna get there after midnight. Oh no! Once again, it was okay. Once again, the people were nice because I think we were still late, but they were still working, so it was okay. Like they didn't even bat an eyelash. But there was no way for us to get there except walking, and I discovered the next day, because I had to go to Narita by myself, while the others were still in the hotel sleeping. Just to that. Oh, that's a long story. I'll explain another time why I had to go to Narita by myself while everyone else was sleeping in the wee hours of the morning. But when I did that, I just walked, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually not bad. It only takes like 15 to 17 minutes. That's not bad for me." I realized that it's can be quite bad depending on who you are. Of course, at this point in time, we were all exhausted, and we had all our luggage with us. It probably would have taken us a half an hour, especially because we didn't know where to go yet. Nikki was on the ball, and as soon as it became apparent that the buses were no longer coming, she was like, "Hey, I just called us an Uber." I'm like, "Oh, sweet, thanks." So, Japanese Uber driver with a van took us to Narita Tobu Hotel Airport. Again, was able to check in, no issues. Everything was good. So the next day, Tuesday, our tourism day, our main tourism day, because the next day would be some tourism as well, even though we had to leave at different times. But Tuesday, big tourism day, and I decided I would take the group to Akihabara, also known as Akiba. This is, I like the way Yuko-san put it when I was explaining that, oh, I'm going to take them to Akihabara, and my group was like, where is that, and what is that? And Yuko-san was like, it is a sacred place for otaku. Basically, Akihabara is the manga, anime, video game, pop culture capital of Tokyo. And so I planned that we would just spend the entire day there, because it is very easy to spend the entire day in Akihabara. I don't think, unfortunately, I was a little sad. I don't think the others had as much fun as I was hoping they would. I discovered something that it seems to me that this is the case, that if you are not automatically enthralled with Akihabara as a concept, as I am, I just look and like, oh, look at all the the neon signs, and the it's like, oh, it's an anime shops everywhere, and like video games, and oh, it's cool. I just like existing in this place. If that's not you, then the other thing that you need in order to maximize your enjoyment of Akihabara is you need to be a gamer, which no one was but me. There's like at least 3 like 7 stories tall arcades. From Sega specifically, 3 Sega arcades specifically, and then the other arcades as well. We wandered through one that, like an arcade that was attached to another kind of variety shop, and there were arcades at the top, and it was very loud because this was an arcade that had all kinds of rhythm games that I had never seen before. It's most Americans know about DDR, Dance Dance Revolution, but this is a place where you have like rhythm games that you play with your hands, and basically giant versions of mobile games, like you play on your phone, but you have in the arcade you have a giant screen that's weird because it's shaped like a phone, but it's giant, and so you just play giant versions of mobile games. And a rhythm game that was like DDR, but you use the whole floor, like there's not little arrows, it's like a whole light floor that you use. It's weird. And we just kind of wandered around and looked at it, and it was cool, and I could tell that the rest of the group was not into it as well, of course I'm not really into rhythm games, but I would have, if it were like a gamer group, I would have just taken them to an arcade and be like, alright, let's just play stuff. But that wasn't this group. So if you're not just automatically enthralled with Akihabara in general, and if you're not a gamer, then the final thing that you need in order to maximize your enjoyment of Akiba is you need to actually know specifically where to go to get what you are looking for, which I did not. I know that there are plenty of places to find lots of Inuyasha merchandise, which Amanda was looking for. I know there are plenty of places to find funky socks, which Nikki was looking for. I don't think Spencer was looking for anything in particular. I think he was kind of just like, just kind of enjoying himself here and there. But overall, I think you need to specifically know what to look for if you don't just in general, like, if you're not just enraptured by everything in general, or you are not a gamer, in which case here are plenty of places that you can just go right there and right there and right there and play some video games. So I was a little saddened that I couldn't give these guys the Akihabara experience that I thought they should have. I forgot that Akihabara is the town, the city, but it's Electric Town that you want to look for specifically, where all the pop culture stuff is. So I was like, okay, we're in Akihabara, but this isn't the right, like, what's going on here? This is Akihabara, but it's just buildings. And I'm like, oh, Electric Town, that's what I forgot. We were just wandering around for way too long. But I think they still enjoyed themselves a bit, because they were able to find some knickknacks here and there to take home with them, some souvenirs for other people. And we had some taiyaki. Taiyaki is basically it's a pastry, kind of like waffle, pancake style pastry in the shape of a fish, with some kind of filling. You can watch them being made. There's like all these molds. There's a big window that you can watch. There's all these fish molds that they pour the batter into, and then plop down some kind of filling, and then flip them over and like bake them on both sides. And it's filled with, the most common taiyaki is filled with red bean paste, ogura. Ogura. I love ogura. It's azuki beans. They're red beans, and they can be used, obviously, they're beans. They can be used in savory dishes, but ogura is commonly in sweets, and it's a sweet bean paste, and it's really good. And so Spencer got a whole bunch of varieties of taiyaki, because they have, at this taiyaki shop, they have ogura, they have green tea flavor, they have, interesting, they have cream with whipped cream. It's like the cream inside and then whipped cream on the outside. All kinds of variety flavors. I got you can also get them hot and cold. I got a hot taiyaki with chocolate, and then a cold one with I believe it was ogura and whipped cream. And another main feature of this place is that all the stores are just, they're very, very small. It's like they pack everything into tiny little spaces. So you walk in, I had to crouch down every time we went in there, and it's like the walls are closed in, but they are just jam-packed with everything you can think. All these figurines and manga and clothing items and snacks and knickknacks, just wall to wall, floor to ceiling, everywhere. And it's like, God, you're crazy. You need to not be claustrophobic to go shopping in Akihabara, because most of the shops are just crammed in there, and then you go several floors also. Like you weave yourself through the aisles of stuff, and then you come to an elevator, and you're like, and you go up, and there's like 7 more floors. One of which is probably a hentai floor, which we did not peruse. And then, various electronic shops and bookstores and all kinds of stuff like that. And theme cafes as well. Lots of maid cafes. We actually encountered a person advertising an owl cafe. She was dressed as, I believe it was Dragonair. It was either Dragonair or Charizard. It was hard to tell with her costume, because it didn't have the full face. It just had the orange body and a hood with like some eyes on it, but I don't remember whether it was Charizard or Dragonair. I'm talking Pokemon, people, sorry. And on her head was a live owl. She didn't even have it on a leash. It was just on her head, just sitting there, just chilling. Like, wow, that's the most docile owl, because by this time it had gotten dark, and so there's all the lights everywhere and all the noise and everything, but this owl was just on her head, just like, So obviously she was advertising an owl cafe, where you can hang out with owls. It's not just, some of you have probably heard of cat cafes, which of course there are in Japan, but there are also owl cafes and other animals as well. So that was that day. That was our big tourism day. And then the next day, basically how it went is, because of the way everyone's tickets worked out, I left at... I was scheduled to leave Narita Airport back to the States, just direct flight, at, what was it? 4:05. I departed Narita at scheduled to depart. I was scheduled to depart Narita at 4:05. Nikki scheduled to depart at 5:10. Spencer at 6:20 or something like that. And Amanda, special case, she actually got to stay for a day by herself because she, again, the way her ticket worked out is that she got basically a day layover. She went from Narita down to Osaka at that airport and then spent a day there and then flew back on the following Thursday. So therefore, we had some time on Wednesday before I left and before we all left to do a bit of stuff in the morning. And so I said, aha, you know what we could do? We could go to Tokyo One Piece Tower, which is Tokyo Tower, but since, I believe, 2005 or something, it has been completely taken over by One Piece, the manga anime, the most popular manga/anime in Japan, the most famous landmark in Japan, besides Fujisan, Mount Fuji, is Tokyo Tower. And now on top of that, Tokyo Tower, inside Tokyo Tower, you now have basically a One Piece museum. So I was like, we could go there, and then we could go to Ginza, the business district, which is right next door. Like, Tokyo Tower is in Daimon. Daimon is the town in which Tokyo Tower resides in, and then Ginza is right next to that, and in Ginza is where I found a Don.K. Don Quixote. Let me explain this store to you. The store is called Don Quixote, which of course is named after that famous Spanish work of literature, and yet it is abbreviated Don.K, and a lot of people will not even... When I tell people, as we were trying to find it, I was telling people Don Quixote, and they're like, I was like, Don.K, oh, Don.K. So even though it's called Don Quixote, everyone knows it as Don.K, which is abbreviated DON K. I believe it's how it's spelled. So therefore, the first time I discovered it, I was just wandering around Ginza, and I saw this store. I was like, Donk? What is a store named Donk? And its mascot is a penguin. Japan. It is, I believe, the most popular variety store, like shopping center in Japan, is Don.K. Its full title is, I believe, Don Quixote Amusement Store. And again, I just randomly discovered this shop as I was just wandering around when I was there in 2015 for 4 days. I believe it was on the last day. I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna... And this is what you can do when you're not responsible for anyone else, when you're not taking people on a trip. No, if you're just by yourself and you're just like, hey, I got some money. I'm just gonna... I had some money from my stipend that I had from my Ponpei, my work in Ponpei. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take this money and I'm just gonna get on some... I'd be like, here's my home base, so I know where it is. I'm just gonna ride some trains. I just got on the train, just like took the Japanese transit system every which way that I could go. And I was just like trying to find different places. I was like, oh, Daimon. I've heard that name before, Daimon. Let's see what's here. Oh, Tokyo Tower is here. Well, that's cool. Ginza. I explored Ginza in a video game once. That's the business district of Japan. Let me see. And that's when I discovered Don.K. So I didn't know at the time. I just went in there. I was like, this is a random store. This is interesting. Little did I know that is the place where lots of tourists go to find varieties of Japanese stuff. Because you can find... Don.K has everything. It has material. It has depending on the store you go to, but I think actually most of them have this variety. Some clothes, some electronics, some snacks, some actual like food, some like alcoholic beverages, just like all kinds of stuff. So I guess you could say basically the Japanese equivalent of Walmart or Target or something like that. So that's what I had planned. We'll go to Tokyo Tower, hang out there for a bit, then we'll go to just right across the way to Ginza and go shopping at Don.K. Give Amanda, Nikki, and Spencer one final shopping day to get all their little stuff and snacks and souvenirs and things like that. Well, see, I was remembering that time that I spent just going every which way on the trains and exploring and just discovering Don.K and Ginza and Daimo and Tokyo Tower and all that, not thinking about how far away these places actually were from Narita. Tokyo Tower and thereby, because Ginza's not that far away, Ginza and that Don.K are about an hour and a half away from the Narita airport. And therefore, unless we were going to get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, I was not going to have any time to do that because I would basically have to just go there and come right back so that I could get ready for my flight. Because everyone wanted to get up at around 10 because of the long day we had had and the long trip we had had in general and how tired we were. So like get up at 10 so we have the energy to go. And so I was like, yeah, that's not going to be enough time. And so I was like, okay, well, I at least want to take them to Don.K. So is there a Don Quixote closer? And I was like, there's a Narita Don.K. All right, it's actually connected with, it's like people from Narita Airport will actually go there to buy stuff. So I was like, okay, that's what we'll do instead. So once again, not having the practice that I should have in like knowing where all these places are, and of course the language barrier, even though I'm getting better, and Amanda knowing a little bit, still not enough to really know. And so long story short, took us way longer than it should have to get there. Even so, we ended up taking the train to, I forget where, but it was like a halfway point where there was a bus that would take us to the Narita Don.K. Mega Don.K. It's a really big one. It's even bigger than the one in Ginza. So we sat there and we waited for the bus to arrive, and it did not. And so I'm like, we need to go because I need to leave and I need to be able to get to Don.K and have everyone do it. So, by the way, when we were at this bus stop, we were like, there's a bus that comes from Narita Tobu Hotel Airport to this location. We could have just done that instead of taking the train and taking all that time. So because the bus wasn't coming, Nikki once again stepped up and said, all right, because she was, not only had she called us the Uber the day before, and then not only had she helped us with her, because she was the one with the GPS that actually functioned, help us find Electric Town, but now she was like, okay, let's just, it says that the Mega Don.K is not that far away. Let's just walk. I was like, all right. So we walked. And, again, didn't have at this point we had checked out from the hotel, but we had, put our luggage in the designated area to come back for it later so that we could just be with ourselves and go. So we walked, and that was actually pretty fun. We actually got to explore a bit of Narita, which is a nice, like, it's one of those, at least the places that we were walking through, smaller areas with like narrower streets that have like different like little specialty shops here and there, and some cool buildings to see. Like some people have like the pagodas on the roofs, and there was actually a shrine we passed by that we didn't have time. Nikki was very sad that we didn't have time to go and take some photos of that because we had to get to Don.K. But we finally made it, and okay, good. We had enough time, everyone could do their shopping. I was stressing out the whole time because I was like, I want to make sure that everyone gets enough time to do this, and then I want to make sure that we can get back. And then, as we got inside and saw, I looked at a sign next to the elevator. Once again, Narita Tobu Hotel Airport. Our hotel actually has a shuttle that goes from our hotel to this Mega Don.K, which is what we could have done in the first place. again, I had planned to go to Tokyo Tower and then to Ginza, and that's what I had been planning. And by the time I realized that we weren't going to be able to do that, it was after hours, and I couldn't have asked the front desk people about that anyway. So then I planned to this whole way to go with the trains and all that. Whereas if we had just like said to the front desk people, hey, what do you think about where can we go to get to Mega Don.K? Because again, I had found the route, and it hadn't mentioned our shuttle bus, but I had found a route. We had figured it out, and so it's like, okay, let's go. And so I didn't even think to, as we were leaving, to say, hey, do you guys go to Mega Don.K? But again, it worked out. Everyone was able to get their shopping done, including me, which I wanted to... I'm going to have to put my glasses on for this. I wanted to get some of this right here, because I don't know how many of you know this, but Kit Kats are extremely popular in Japan, to the point that over here it's got, we got Kit Kats. We just got Kit Kats. That's it. Maybe nowadays we have nowadays there's white Kit Kat, and nowadays there's big Kit Kat, and maybe there's like a, I don't know, crunchy Kit Kat, and we go, oh, the variety. Oh man, oh that's too much. That's too much variety of Kit Kats. You see this? Kit Kats, I don't even know. It must be like, I don't want to say hundreds, but maybe hundreds, certainly dozens of different flavors of Kit Kat, because they're just that popular. And one of the most popular flavors is green tea. Green tea flavored Kit Kat. And so I wanted to get some. And then, as I was in there, I found these. And I said, okay, so you got your green tea right here. And then, so this is green tea. Like you can see the tea right there. So what is this? I was like, okay, is this mint? I'm gonna say that this is mint. So let's like check this out and like get this too, and try this as well. But then when I got them, I was like, wait, no, this is also green tea. What's going on here? So are they both matcha? Because I'm gonna taste them again right now just to make sure. So here's what they look like. Glare. Here's what they look like. So you're one from the darker bag with the matcha on the cover, and one from the lighter bag with the what I thought was mint, but tastes like tea as well. And I got the packs that have the small size, the fun size. So and it most definitely tastes like green tea and a Kit Kat. I can definitely see people not liking that. It's definitely strange. It's green tea, but Kit Kat. So it's weird, but I like it. But then this, that I thought was like, okay, so that's green tea. So then what is this then? Because this must be mint. But then I take it out, and you see it's very, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see that. It's very speckly. And that smells real strong. And that is not mint. That is, again, tea, but it's, wow, it's strong. It is really strong. So is that what this is? Again, I'm not good enough yet to understand all of this. So, I don't know, is it Is it just milder green tea and then stronger green tea? Because I guess like on the back here, on the back, you can see like brewed tea and like fields of I don't know, fields of matcha. I don't know, does matcha come in fields? I don't know enough about this. But then here, powder. So is that what's going on here? It's like one of these tastes like green tea, and then the other one tastes like green tea powder? You're eating powder? Well, I don't know. So I got myself a QR scanner on my phone so that I could look at this right here that says information for international, what does it say? Information for international customer. Let us find out about this. Scan it, scan it, scan it. Come on, focus. This thing is not, there we go. Okay. Discover Japanese Kit Kat. Discover Japanese Kit Kat. Kit Kat luxury every day. Sweetness for adults. Otona no amasa. Let's find your favorite Kit Kat flavor from the numerous kinds available only in Japan. Aha. Okay, so this kind is called Itokyuemon Uji Matcha. Green tea. The matcha of Kyoto Uji's long-established tea house, Itokyuemon, and Kit Kat have teamed up. Okay, so it's a specific kind of green tea. Itokyuemon's carefully selected Uji Matcha Kneaded Chocolate. Uji Matcha Kneaded Chocolate. The delicious and rich taste of mellow matcha. So therefore, let me see, does that mean that the other one is stronger? Aha! Otona no amasa. I think that's what this is. Otona no amasa. Sweetness for adults. By kneading Uji Gyokuro tea leaves into the Uji matcha flavored dough, a fragrant Uji matcha aroma and taste is brought out. Enjoy the rich and genuine Uji matcha taste made for adults. So it is just stronger green tea. Okay, that answers that. So mild green tea for children, strong green tea for adults. I had no idea. That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. That's how popular, that's how much variety we're talking about here in terms of Kit Kats. That's how popular they are. 2 different kinds of green tea flavor. That's how much variety there are in Kit Kats in Japan. The mild stuff is good. Like I said, it's kind of weird, but I can see a lot of people getting into that. Stronger stuff, however, that I can definitely see being an acquired taste. Like you heard what they said. They knead tea powder into the formula. So I didn't get much more than that because I was just concentrating on, again, getting back to where we needed to get to and having everything set up for the others, especially Amanda, making sure that she was going to be okay by herself before I had to leave. Getting all that Kit Kat residue out of my mouth so I can keep talking. That was basically it. Amanda, Nikki, and Spencer got some time to eat and stuff like that after we got back. I had to book it, and it seems like from what I've gathered from the others, every single one of our flights was delayed going back home. My flight was delayed to the point where I had to actually get myself put on, like, I went back to LA, because of course that's where I leave from, but then I had planned on taking another flight from LA back to Nashville, but because my flight was delayed, I had to get myself, when I was in LA, I had to wait in the airport for like 6 hours because I had to get myself on a different flight, get myself on, put on standby, I think they call it, put on standby for a flight going back to Nashville, and because I had to be put on standby, they made sure to get a flight that they knew I would be able to get on, and it had to be a red-eye. So, oh boy. And it seems like that was pretty much everyone else's experience, or close to it. Everyone else is not having to go to Nashville after they got back to LA, but we made it, and that is the end of our trip. And what a success it was. Once again, it was Miyuki-san initially, and then Haruna-san, who showed me the ANA website to get the tickets for everyone domestically, and of course Amanda, Nikki, and Spencer doing all their work, and continuing to do their work now even, and Yuko-san and Kai-san being a joy to work with and helping us out tremendously, and all of the people that Kaya-san coordinated with us, that were working with us, and all the people who we met at the different locations, who were in charge of the locations or knew about the locations. It's all been great. So now comes the part where I push forward with all the aspects of pre-production left to go, of which there are many, but we have made a huge leap forward. And of course that's what I was talking about in my interview with Max. That's what I was talking about, finding each of those little steps forward. Maybe some of them are larger than others, but like, what can I do to push forward now? And now that I've gotten there, what can I do to push forward again? So this was definitely a monumental leap forward, and now it's time to find the next step that I can take. Well, I know what the next step is. It's completing all of the LLC business, getting Afro Pictures, making sure everything is set up properly for the negotiations that are going to now take place with all of the rest of the crew and the cast and all of that. And that is going to be detailed, the plans, at least what I'm currently working on, is going to be detailed in the next vlog, official, full-on vlog, which will either be next week or the week before that. So until then, thank you all for watching, thank you all for coming along on this journey with me. Hopefully I was able to inform and to entertain somewhat in these horrible square laptop videos. Again, getting back into the official vlogs now that I'm home for a few months before I am off again if everything goes according to plan. Again, I will let you all know about that as things progress. Good night, everyone. Stay tuned for more Afro Pictures / Yoyaku Yokai coverage. And now I can't see to push the stop button. There it is.